Welcome to another video. This week, US President Donald Trump posted a warning saying that if Iran strikes a ship in the Strait of Hormuz, the United States will respond by destroying a bridge or power plant inside Iran. This follows weeks of strikes and counterstrikes between the two nations, with dozens of casualties already reported. I want to be clear from the start. This video is not about taking sides in this specific conflict, and it is not a judgment on any government, leader, or nation. I am using this as a real, current example, because war of any kind, anywhere, at any point in history, raises a question the Buddha addressed directly: what actually happens, karmically, to the people involved in it? Whenever a conflict like this appears in the news, most conversations quickly split into two camps: people arguing about who started it, who is more justified, and who deserves the blame. Those are legitimate political and historical questions, and I am not going to pretend they don't matter. But there is a separate question sitting underneath all of that, one that has almost nothing to do with geopolitics and everything to do with the human mind. What is actually happening inside the people who participate in violence, on every side, regardless of who history eventually decides was in the right? It is worth remembering that this is not a new question, and it is not a question that only applies to the two countries in the headlines right now. Every war throughout human history, on every continent, in every century, has involved ordinary people making decisions in the middle of fear, anger, and a genuine desire to protect what they love. The Buddha lived in a time of frequent warfare between kingdoms as well, and his teachings on this subject were never abstract. They were addressed directly to soldiers, kings, and ordinary villagers caught in the middle of conflict. In Buddhism, karma is not a mystical scoreboard kept by some cosmic judge. It simply describes cause and effect. Every intentional action plants a seed, and that seed eventually ripens into an experience for the person who planted it. War, more than almost anything else humans do, is an enormous generator of this kind of seed planting, on every side involved, regardless of who is defending and who is attacking. Let's look at 5 specific actions the Buddha's teachings warn create heavy karmic consequences during war, actions that appear on every side of every conflict throughout history. Number 1, taking life. This is the most direct one, and the first of the 5 precepts explicitly warns against it. In wartime, killing is often framed as duty, necessity, or self-defense, and from a worldly, practical standpoint, nations do genuinely have to defend their people. But the Buddha's teaching does not create an exception clause that erases the karmic weight of taking a life simply because it happens on a battlefield or is authorized by a government. The intention behind the act still matters enormously. Every soldier, on every side, who takes a life carries that weight forward, regardless of the uniform they wear or the flag behind them. This does not mean every soldier is equally culpable in every situation. Context and intention still matter deeply, but it does mean no one gets a complete pass simply because a war was declared. Number 2, nurturing hatred toward the other side. War rarely stays contained to the battlefield alone. It seeps into how people talk, think, and feel about entire nations or ethnic groups back home. The Buddha taught that hatred held in the mind is itself a karmic seed, independent of whether it ever translates into a physical action. Simply carrying rage, resentment, or a desire for the other side's suffering, day after day, plants that seed just as surely as an act of violence does. This is why the Buddha's teaching on non-hatred was never really about the enemy. It was about protecting your own mind from becoming a breeding ground for cycles that outlast the war itself. Long after a ceasefire is signed and the headlines move on, the hatred cultivated in millions of individual minds during the fighting does not simply switch off. It lingers for generations, quietly shaping how children are raised to view an entire people, decades after the last shot was fired. Number 3, spreading exaggeration and hostility to stir up support. This connects directly to right speech, one part of the Eightfold Path. During conflict, it becomes extremely easy and often politically useful to exaggerate the enemy's cruelty, dehumanize an entire population, or spread claims that are not fully verified, all to build public support for continued fighting. The Buddha explicitly warned against speech that divides people or that isn't grounded in truth. This kind of speech creates karma not just for governments or media outlets, but for every individual who repeats it, shares it, and lets it shape how they see other human beings. It is worth noticing how easy this has become in the age of social media, where a single unverified claim about the other side can spread to millions of people within hours, each share adding its own small weight to the same karmic pattern. Number 4. Feeling joy at the suffering of the other side. This one is subtle, and it can appear even in people who never lift a weapon. Celebrating enemy casualties, mocking their losses, or feeling satisfaction when the other side suffers, this is a mental state the Buddha specifically taught against, sometimes described as the near enemy of compassion. It feels like justice in the moment, but it is actually cultivating the same root that makes cruelty possible in the first place. Karmically, cultivating joy in someone else's suffering shapes your own mind toward more of that same capacity, regardless of which side you were rooting for. You do not need to be a soldier or a politician for this one to apply to you. It can happen quietly, from the comfort of your own home, scrolling through footage of destruction and feeling a flicker of satisfaction because it happened to them rather than us. Number 5. Destroying what ordinary people depend on to live. Targeting bridges, power plants, water systems, and other infrastructure that civilian life depends on, even when framed as a military strategy rather than an attack on people directly, still creates enormous downstream suffering for people who had no part in starting the conflict. The Buddha's teaching on right action asks us to weigh not just our stated intention, but the actual suffering our actions bring into the world. Infrastructure does not choose sides, but the people who rely on electricity, clean water, and safe roads to survive absolutely do suffer when it disappears, regardless of which government's decision destroyed it, and regardless of how carefully the target was chosen to be called military rather than civilian. Now here is the part of this teaching that people sometimes find uncomfortable. Buddhism does not say that self-defense is never justified, or that nations facing real threats have no right to protect their people. What it does say, very clearly, is that karma does not check your passport or read your government's press release before it ripens. Every person who kills, hates, deceives, celebrates suffering, or causes destruction plants those same seeds, whether they are wearing the uniform history later calls the aggressor or the uniform history later calls the defender. War does not suspend karma for one side while applying it to the other. It generates the exact same seeds in the exact same soil everywhere it is fought. This is genuinely difficult for most people to accept, because our natural instinct in any conflict is to sort the world into the side that is right and the side that is wrong, and then assume that karmic consequences only attach to the wrong side. History books, news coverage, and even our own family conversations are usually built entirely around that framework. The Buddha's teaching quietly cuts across all of it, suggesting that the moral clarity we crave about who is right does not actually change what is happening inside the minds and future experiences of the people carrying out the fighting on either side of that line. It also doesn't mean every action carries identical weight. Intention still matters enormously in this teaching. Someone defending their home from an unprovoked invasion is in a genuinely different moral position than someone launching that invasion in the first place. The Buddha never taught a flattened equivalence where every participant in a war is somehow equally responsible. What he taught was that even the more justified position does not grant total immunity from the karmic weight of taking a life, celebrating harm, or nurturing hatred. Context can lessen the weight of an action, but it rarely erases it completely. This can feel like a genuinely difficult teaching to sit with, especially when watching a real conflict unfold on the news, where it is natural to want a clear hero and a clear villain. But the Buddha's teaching on karma was never really designed to comfort us with easy moral categories. It was designed to describe reality as it actually functions, seed and consequence, regardless of which side plants it. And that includes something you can actually act on today, in your own corner of this. The next time you notice yourself hoping for someone else's suffering, exaggerating a claim because it supports your side, or letting hatred toward an entire group settle comfortably into your mind, you are witnessing, in miniature, the exact same seeds this teaching warns about. None of this requires you to have an opinion on who is right in any particular conflict happening in the world today. You can hold a clear, informed political view about a war and still choose not to let hatred toward an entire population take root in your own mind. You can support your own country's right to defend itself and still refuse to celebrate when someone on the other side is hurt. These are not contradictions. They are exactly the kind of balance the Buddha's teaching on karma is asking us to hold, protecting your own mind from becoming part of the very cycle you may be horrified to watch unfold on the news each night. Perhaps the most useful way to hold this teaching is not as a judgment on any government or any headline, but as a mirror pointed back at your own daily habits of mind. War is simply the largest, loudest version of patterns that exist in miniature in almost everyone's life. The urge to see an opposing group as less than fully human, the satisfaction of watching someone we've decided deserves to lose, actually lose, the willingness to repeat a claim because it flatters our own side rather than because we've verified it. Watching a real conflict unfold on the news can actually become a kind of mirror, showing us, at enormous scale, tendencies that live quietly inside our own minds every single day, whether or not there happens to be a war on at the time. So, if this video gave you something to think about today, please check out the full Buddhism in English channel for more videos to help you find peace and wisdom through ancient teachings. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching.